Any of that ever happen?
Absolutely. And I've come across that attitude, but I could not lay my head down at night with a clear conscience, knowing that because I was scared of the repercussions, not getting involved. I would have no choice the way that I'm built. I would have to do what I can and accept the repercussions from that choice.
If this was a TV show, you would see me with a big smile on my face because I always talk to people about character. Folks, this is what I mean by character. That there's not a lot you have to do in life, but you have to sleep with yourself. So you had better like the person that you are. DC, a technical question. How is your costume made, and with what kinds of material? For example, does it have any kind of reinforced lining like Batman to deflect bullets or anything like that?
Mine included, but a lot of people in this community have designed their outfits to support wearing a bulletproof vest, a thickened leather armor plating. Depending on the kind of mission that you choose as an RLSH. My jacket, if you notice in a lot of the pictures, looks rather large because it allows me to have armor and armor plating.
Peter, how many superheroes do we know of out there? Is there a list?
Oh, the answer you get will depend on who you ask. I am aware of several hundred people that call themselves real-life superheroes, and in the last week I've actually spoken to a man in Western Africa who goes by Lionheart, and he does his work all focused on bringing an education to the communities that he lives in or lives nearby about boiling water before drinking it or cooking in the huts, which can cause, asphyxiation or health problems. I spoke to a man named Silver Cyclist in Sao Paulo, Brazil last week as well, who's doing a lot of work with regard to food for the homeless. And, they're all over the place. So
they're all over the world.
Yeah.
Are they all over the United States?
All over the United States. Comic books have inspired many of these people to use this method, and comic books are generally considered to be an American experience, and so that's why you see such a large percentage of this community residing here in the United States.
DC, do you go out on regular patrols, and do you have any special experiences you've had on patrol that you might care to share with the listeners?
Yes, I actually go on patrol quite often, and if you're talking about, say, patrolling your community, I've had experiences where I've come across drug dealers. I've had experiences where I've come across bullying, things like that, and what I find amazing is that a lot of people stand around and watch the event take place. There was one time where up Washington, D.C., just north of the Capitol itself, ran across two drug dealers in the middle of daylight conducting their transaction. But the neighborhood sees this walking flag coming down the road, which automatically brought the community's eyes to what was going on. And I try very hard to think about what kind of repercussions are the actions that I'm taking, or what will they cause. So talking to the two drug dealers in just normal conversation, it put a spotlight on them that made them either move or just cancel the transaction right there.
Have you ever had an interaction with one of those types, where they say, "Hey, who are you? You better get out of here"?
Yes, I have. I've had several times when people have tried to push their agenda so that I would leave versus them. Dark Guardian does a wonderful time up in his location. He actively confronts drug dealers in the dead of night with a bullhorn and flashlight. Everybody brings out, their best assets to the fight, and we find out just sometimes bringing a spotlight to the situation helps it out, but there are times when it might go too far. Phoenix Jones runs across this quite often up in Seattle. He has had conflicts, and sometimes he wins, sometimes he comes out even, but he is making a difference within his community.
How do the authorities regard your actions? Are you considered troublesome vigilantes or helpful citizens?
It depends on the individual. Myself, my rule of thumb is if I cannot stand in a courtroom and talk about my actions, I will not do that. But I try very hard to work with the local authorities wherever I go. I introduce myself out of costume first, and then I let them know who I am, learn a little bit about me, and I try actually to assist them in helping bring up cold cases. As an example, Captain Prospect up in Washington, D.C., regularly he prints out the flyers of cases that have not had any movement for a while. So people do work with the authorities. Now, there are some that do not like the community. There are some that do. It depends on the actual individual.
Peter,
I can tell you, having spoken to a number of police officers and police departments around the country, that the official word from police departments that they'll say to the press is, we would just prefer people do what all citizens should, which is call 911 and report crime or witness crime when they see it. The reality is that the individuals doing this hope to inspire people to do just that. But the police are aware of the fact that some person may misunderstand what it is that's being done and want to do something that would be characterized as vigilantism. As a whole, this community is absolutely rejecting vigilantism. Vigilantes take the law into their own hands. They decide what is law. And, that is antithetical to what these guys are all doing and what they stand for.
Now, how do would-be heroes join the group?
Well they're
you tell them that one, DC.
We do, because of the notoriety a lot of us have gained, thanks in part to, people like you and this great show.
Pardon me. Let me suggest the word renown. Notoriety actually has negative meaning.
Sounds like a plan. But because of the level of interest we've gained, we have a lot of interest by younger people who want to do something in the communities. We don't necessarily want people to dress up in costume. It depends on where they are and what they do, but we try to really make sure they understand the pros and cons of putting yourself out there. 20, 30 years ago, you would have been pretty much reprimanded if you didn't put yourself out there. Well, things have almost turned full circle to where you're the oddball if you're trying to do the right thing for your community. So we try to educate a little, give people avenues to put their foot out there to see if it's even right for them. We try to get them in community action groups, local watches, police reserve units. So it's not necessarily to don a costume and become one of us, but it's just to get involved in whatever passion they find.
Does Real Life Superheroes provide any kind of logistical support? And if so, of what nature and in what form?
Oh, absolutely. Like I said, the internet has really supported a lot of what we do. We have people in other countries who are good at computers. Up in New York, we have a gentleman who is, a very big computer person, and his name is Zimmer, and he helps a lot with the logistics, a lot of information flow. We have Razor Hawk, who is in the Midwest, who supports with information flow and the domino effects of different missions people want to hold. So a lot of people bring stuff to the table, and it's not necessarily because they go in the streets, but it's because of a knowledge database that they may have or a talent that they have that somebody else across the country or the world can use.
Now, okay, what if someone wants to become a costume superhero? Okay, I want to make a difference. I've got the character to do it, okay, and I want to go out there and in my community make the kind of impression that you're making, DC. I've been inspired by you and by Phoenix and by some of the others to do it. How would you suggest going about getting started?
Well, what I have normally done, and I receive a lot of these kind of questions constantly. What I normally say is, first of all, that's wonderful. You've got a passion to do something and to help. My question is, what do you stand for to begin with? What is your foundation? Most of us have peer pressure, whether it's good or bad, and I try to help you understand where you are coming from. To just dress up and make a difference is great, but it may not have any momentum. So I want to know from you, what do you stand for? What do you believe in? And what changes do you want to make? That might help drive a character concept. Myself, DC's guardian, you see me and you automatically put something against that. Your whole character and your whole persona should support the foundation you created. Much like a child learning from his parents. You need to create a solid foundation before you can attack the world, because it's going to be attacking you back. And if you don't have a good foundation, you're going to fall flat on your face at some point. We try to help people prepare themselves.
Now, Peter, if people contact reallifesuperheroes.com, essentially that gets to you. That you're the one who's the unofficial spokesperson. So if somebody comes in and actually wants to be a superhero, they're not necessarily going to get to DC Guardian and get his feedback. How would you respond to someone contacting you and say, hey, look, I'd like to do this in my area. How do I get started?
You know, I have many of the same answers as DC. I do get all the email that comes through the website. And, you know, I ask them the same questions, you know, what is it you stand for and what do you want to accomplish? And then I connect them with people that are in their communities. And I point them toward resources that are on the .org website that basically illustrate the principles and the methodology that these guys are using, so that they're put in touch with the community as a whole, and they're introduced to the community and understand what it is they're doing and why.
Is there a way that ordinary people who don't necessarily want to become superheroes but want to support what you're doing, how can they get involved?
Absolutely. You know, the entire message of this community, as far as I'm concerned, is that one person can make a difference, and you can do it in such simple ways. You can just be a hero, and it could be as simple as just learning the names of the homeless people you encounter on a regular basis. You know, it can just be looking outwardly past your own four walls to see where you can make a positive difference in someone's life. And you know, so I would encourage everyone to think of themselves as heroes, and to think of ways and look for ways that they can actually make a positive difference in the world they live in.
And actually, if I step in here, there are two...
DC, we're out of time, I'm afraid. We are out of time. We're against the clock. My guests have been Peter Tangent and DC Guardian. www.reallifesuperheroes.com. God bless you both for what you're doing. I would love to bring you back. Will you come back again sometime?
Absolutely.
Great. Thank you so much. It's the end of hour number 1. Stay tuned. There's more coming.